When Israel, out of bondage, they came, reached at a certain spot, there was Pharaoh behind and the Red Sea before. But Yahweh, in his wisdom, told Moshe, forward still. And Yahweh rolled back the sea away and straight through. Israel was freed from bondage. We reached that time of the day when we will get some wisdom and more understanding to take us, these messages will take us to kingdom, as we say. So, our chief leader, Rash, Atsalyahu, will come and deliver our main meal of the day. Here he comes as he delivered unto us. Welcome him as he comes.
Hello. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom. Indeed, we are thankful for this day as we continue to lift up the name of Yahuwah as we go into the period of the feast of unleavened bread, Passover and unleavened bread. We want to clear up a few issues. Last week, the man spoke on what is the Passover, and he did do a little on when the Passover, and I touched on, if the Passover is a sin offering or sin sacrifice, a sacrifice for sin. And it's important that we look at it because it is told or it is understood by others that the Passover lamb, the lamb, that Passover represents the removal of Israel from the bondage of sin. So the lamb was a sin offering. And then we are told that, he died, that the lamb died for our sin. So it's important that we look at it. And when we are looking at these issues, we look at what is in the scriptures, and not what I think. Because many times is what I think or what I believe, and not what is written in the scripture. So it's important that we do that. And you would have known by now that we look at what is in the word, in the scriptures, the Torah, and not what people said. We are blessed to have been brought out of darkness into marvelous light, as one song would have sung. And so we understood, or we re-understand, because it was presented last year and the year before. It was reiterated that the Passover is the lamb itself and not the day, and not the passing over of the angel, or the death angel, as they would say. So Passover is the lamb itself. You can re-watch Marsha's presentation and we have several others that you could watch to see. So for us to look at, so we're going to look today at, is Passover a sin offering or a sin sacrifice? Right? Did that lamb that was slain, and it's not just that lamb, but because many lambs, huh? So for Passover, it's not just one lamb, but it is many lambs. And each household would have its own lamb. Or if the household is not too big, then two household neighbors would share a lamb. So it's not just one lamb that was killed on the Passover. All right? So I want us to get that. When you look at the atonement, how many lambs killed on the atonement? Huh? Atonement, one lamb. Right? Big atonement, one lamb. And when you have the even sacrifices and all those sacrifices, when persons are offering sin offering, how many lamb is killed? How many lamb do you bring to kill for your sin offering? One lamb, right? But for the Passover, it's a lamb for every household. Or if the small household, two small ones come together and you work the lamb. So the lamb and Passover is not one lamb. All right? I want you to bear that in mind as we go through. So before we look at the sin offering, because we want to dive and pay attention to the sin offering, because they say it's sin offering or sin sacrifice. Let's just quickly look at what is a sacrifice and what is offering. And then we can go into whether or not, based on what we see a sin offering is, or the sin sacrifice is, then we can determine, looking at what the Passover is, and the rituals of the Passover compared to the rituals of the sin offering, then you can determine whether the Passover. And remember now, students, learned ones, remember now that the Passover, when I said Passover, what am I talking about? The lamb, because the lamb is the Passover. The Pesach. All right, so we have to change our style of talking and the use of the terminologies to suit or to fit what the context. So the Passover, when I say Passover, talking about a lamb. All right? So let's start with Genesis 1:54. We're looking at sacrifice. Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount. He offered sacrifice, right, upon the mount. And he called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. So you see Jacob offer sacrifice on the mountain. What is that sacrifice? What is that he would have offered? He offered sacrifice upon the mountain. What do you think he would have offered on the mountain? Is it bread? Is it fruit? Is it an animal? It is an animal, right? So he offered sacrifice, meaning he offered an animal. So sacrifice you could have said that Jacob offered a lamb or a goat or whatever it is, right? So he offered that on the mountain. And so sacrifice in this context is a noun, a thing. So you offer something on the mount, right? And you see the word for it, the back, which is, properly a slaughter, that is the flesh of an animal. So you'll realize that the flesh of any animal that was slaughtered for divine purpose. And I don't use religious purpose because we're not religious. And they will understand. And this is when we look at the difference between Israel and religion. Because Israel is a religion, and Israel does not work with a religion. So we can't say that the animal was slaughtered for a religious purpose, but as I use the word, divine purpose. Divine has to do with Yahuwah, right? So any animal that is used for divine purpose, for Yahuwah, then that animal is called a sacrifice. A thing. So the thing is the sacrifice, right? So the flesh of an animal, or the animal, we look at Exodus 34:25. Yahweh said, "Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven. Neither shall the sacrifice of the feast of Passover be left unto the morning." What is the sacrifice of the feast of Passover? The sacrifice of the Pesach, which would be the what? The flesh of the lamb. Now remember, you don't forget this, because we did this last year, that the word lamb speaks to a 1-year-old goat or sheep. All right, so for the Passover, you could use a goat or you could use a sheep, 1-year-old. So when we say lamb, it is either a goat or a sheep. So don't say lamb or goat, but it's lamb, which is either. So if you pull a goat for the Passover, that's a lamb. You pull a sheep, that's a lamb, right? So we have to understand that. So here you say, you are not to offer the blood of my sacrifice, whatever the animal is, with leaven. So you should not offer it with any leavened bread or leavened whatever it is. Right? Again, we see it is a thing. Right? And so the animal could be of the herd, of the flock, or of the bird. Right? So the sacrifice could either be of the herd, the bullock or the cow or the calf, or of the flock, or of fowl. So those are the animals that can be used as sacrifices. All right? So I give some more text to look at that. Leviticus 1:3. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. So if it is a burnt offering, and by the way, and you will understand, you'll understand also that all sacrifices have to be burnt. right, or aspects or parts of it have to be burned on the altar. All right, so we could see that. So if his earl, let him offer the meal without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yahuwah. So note also that the sacrifices have to be offered at the door of the congregation, of the tabernacle of the congregation, the door. That is where all burnt offerings are offered. Leviticus 1 verse 10, and if his offering be of the flocks. So we saw the herd first in verse 3. Verse 10 is if it's of the flock, namely the sheep or the goats for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish. Again, and because a burnt offering, a burnt sacrifice, then it must be done at the door of the tabernacle of the congregations. And then now in verse 14, if the burnt offering be that the offer be of the fowls, he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. Alright? So the sacrifices are the Torah of the sacrifices are clear. Either of the herd or of the flock or of bird. And the bird has to be turtle doves or pigeons. And of the flock is sheep or goat, or the herd, is a cow or calf or the bullock. Right, so those animals. So those are the only animals that are used in sacrifice. And you will understand that the sacrifices have to be burnt because at least part of it burnt to Yahuwah. But note, and it's important for you to note this, and you'd have heard people talking about, I guess the man said it last week that he heard that someone is doing blood sacrifice or whatever. There's no term in the scripture called blood sacrifice. You don't find it, huh? There's no blood sacrifice. The sacrifice is the animal itself. And the blood is used to sprinkle or to do whatever it is. All right? So bear that in mind. There's no blood sacrifice in the scripture, in the Torah. So sacrifice sacrifice is the thing, but you also have the word sacrifice occurring, which is not the thing, but is the action. Alright? So the sacrifice is the thing, the animal, but sacrifice again seen particularly well, for example, in Exodus 3, verse 18. Sacrifice here, let me see, I see it here, sacrifice. That we may sacrifice to Yahuwah our God. That we may sacrifice, meaning that we may, so this is action now. That we may kill the animal to Yahuwah. Kill the animal to our Elohim. Right? And this sacrifice is Zabak. So the first one was Zebak, and this one is now Zabak. So which is this to slaughter an animal, or to kill, or to slay. Right? So two slaughters, two sacrifices. One sacrifice is the thing, the noun, which is the animal. And two, sacrifice is the action, the verb, the action. So to kill. All right? So we have to understand that. And there are a few texts that we could look at. We could look at Deuteronomy 16, verse 2, 5, 6. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice, which is to kill or slaughter, the Passover, unto Yahuwah thy God. Verse 5, thou may not sacrifice, or they may not kill or slaughter the Passover in any of thy gates. And verse 6, but at the place which Yahuwah Your Elohim shall choose to place his name in. Thou shalt slaughter, or thou shalt, those are sacrifice, or you shall kill or slaughter the Passover at evening, at the going down the sun, at the season that thou come out of Egypt. And this is not a part of my presentation, but I just want to bring your attention to it, At the season that thou camest out of Egypt. At the season, at the point, the time that you came out of Egypt. At the going of the sun. All right, so some people say it's the 13th, evening of the 13th. No, it has to be the 14th because they came out of Egypt on the 15th. So it's at the time when you came out of Egypt. Right? But that is for another time. I think Marsha will do more than that. So let's move on. So that's a sacrifice. Simple as that, right? The texts are there. A lot of texts are in the scripture. When you see word sacrifice, it's two things. Either it means the animal itself, or it means the action of killing the animal, right? Let's look at offering now. Leviticus 1 verse 2. Leviticus 1 verse 2. Speak unto the Yisra'el, and say unto them, if any man of you bring an offering unto Yahweh, he shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd, and of the flock. Right? So bring an offering. So the offering there does not mean money. Right? It has to be of the cattle, either the herd or the flock. An offering. So let's look at what offering there means now in the Hebrew. Korban. Which is something brought near to the altar, that is a sacrificial present, oblation, offering. So anything that you bring that is brought to the altar is an offering. Anything. All right, so if you bring some flour to the altar, it is an offering. If you bring a lamb to the altar, it is an offering. If you bring wine to the altar, it is an offering. So whatever you bring to Yahweh, it has to come to the altar, and that is an offering. All right? So watch that now. So we're going to go a little further. And then the word called oblation, that is the same as offering. Same word that is used for offering. So now let's look at the types of offering that are. The types of offering. Let's look at that now. Types of offering. The first type of offering is called, well, I put them in my order. So that not really about, what is first or whatever. So there's no order in this one here. So the first one that I have is called the meat offering. All right? And don't mix up meat with flesh. So when you say meat offering, is not flesh. It's not chicken or goat or cow. Meat offering is any offering that is not meat, not flesh. What? You watching me? You see me? So meat offering is any offering that is not of flesh. So Leviticus 2 verse 3 to 5. So you have meat offering that is unbaked or uncooked. And it's not flesh, not goat, not sheep, not cow. So look at Leviticus 2 verse 3 to 5. And the remnant of the meat offering shall be Aaron's and his son. It's a thing most holy of the offerings of Yahuwah, made by fire. And if you bring an oblation of meat offering, bacon in the oven, it shall be unleavened cakes of fine flour mingled with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. If your oblation be a meat offering baked in a pan, it shall be a fine flour, unleavened, mingled with oil. So the meat offering is offering that is made of flour. It's a flour thing. Right? The meat offering is flour, or wheat, or maybe barley. Right? So find that now. Meat offering. Don't mix up meat and flesh. And the meat offering can be cooked or baked, or uncooked and unbaked. Because you can offer fine flour by itself as is. You plant your wheat and you bring your flour, the wheat flour, fine processed. And the process doesn't mean you put the things in, but you grind fine flour. That is, so when you bring the flour itself uncooked, that is meat offering that is uncooked. But then you have meat offering that is cooked, which is baked. And it could be baked in a pan, or it could be baked on fire, like roast, right? So you could roast it. You know, we used to eat roast dumpling, or we could do maybe fried dumpling, or we could do bake a pudding or whatever it is, right? So you have now the baked one. So in verse 79 of Leviticus 2, if that oblation be a meat offering in a frying pan, look at fried dumpling, it shall be made with fine flour with oil. Or it would be what we call the matzah. Huh? Thou shalt bring the meat offering that is made of these things unto Yahuwah, and when it is presented unto the priest, he shall bring it unto the altar, and the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof, and shall burn it upon the altar. It is an offering made by fire, of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. Now watch this. And I chose not to go in detail with this because we want to look at the sin offering, because they are saying to us that it's a sin offering. So we deal with the sin offering, right? But I want you to understand this, that every offering that is offered, or everything that is offered, a piece of it must be burned on the altar. So when he said, when you bring your offering to the altar, so a piece has to be burned on the altar to Yahuwah. So we have not seen where as an offering, we have an offering where the entire thing was burned. Still looking for it. Maybe, but the part was burned on the altar, and the other part is given to the priest for them to work with. And you will see that if a particular sacrifice, which is an offering, if the blood of a particular sacrifice is brought into the tabernacle, then the entire sacrifice, it can't be eaten by the priest. So a part has to be burnt on the altar, and then the rest is taken outside the camp and burned. So we never see where an entire offering is burnt. Just a part. So what we see here, we said a memorial. Where is it? And the priest shall take from the meat offering a memorial thereof. Mean a little part of it. And that part now is burnt on the altar. So you get that part, a sweet smelling savor, and the priest will get the rest of it for themselves, because the priest they don't have any land, they have no possession, and so they need to be taken care of. So if you bring a big matzah, whatever it is, to offer to Yahuwah. The priest take a small piece of it, burn on the altar, whatever it is, all the ritual, burn on the altar, and the other piece, the majority is kept by the priest. All right? I want you to listen to this carefully because we want to ascertain what happens with the what? With the Passover, with the Pesach, with the lamb, compared to all of these offerings that we are told about. So that's the meat offering that is baked or cooked. So we have one offering that is unbaked, uncooked, meat offering, unbaked, uncooked, and you have meat offering that is baked or cooked. Then we have now another meat offering called the first fruits. The first fruits, a meat offering. Leviticus 2, verse 12, 14, 15. As for the oblation of the first fruits, you shall offer them unto Yahuwah, but they shall not be burnt on the altar for a sweet savor. So watch this now. So here we see now this one not burnt. And if thou offer a meat offering of the first fruit unto Yahuwah, thou shalt offer for the meat offering of thy first fruit green ear of corn dried by fire, even corn beaten out of full ear. And thou shalt put oil upon it, and lay frankincense there upon it. It is a meat offering. So here, so the first fruit offering, we are now being told that it should not be burnt, shall not burn on the altar. So the first fruit offering, and that must be of corn, green corn. You have to dry it first, and then you grind it out, pound it out, and then you put your frankincense upon it, right? You put your oil on it, you put your frankincense, and you run your thing. The next offering is the drink offering now. So the drink offering is in Leviticus 23, verse 13. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil as a meat offering. An offering made by fire unto Yahuwah for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, a fourth part of an hin. So the drink offering is not lemonade and is not suck, nor bag juice. It's not orange juice. It is wine. The priest want to look at wine, So if you bring the wine, you give the fourth part of an hin, and you know what the priest will do with that. You can read up to see, so all the ritual for each offering. That's not what we want to do today. We really want to zero in on the sin offering, but I'm just showing you these things before we get into that. All right, so we finish in soon. Then we have the burnt offering or sacrifice. The burnt offering or sacrifice now. So among the burnt offering or sacrifice are several offerings. So the sacrifice, so all sacrifice is an offering. Because once you bring it to the altar before Yahuwah, it's an offering. But you'll see that all sacrifices are burnt offering. And all the other offerings, which are not meat, which are not flesh, are just called offerings. All right, come again. Let's go again. All offerings that are given by flesh are called sacrifice. All offerings that are flesh-based are called sacrifice. And all offerings that are not flesh-based are just barely offerings. Are called, offerings. But sacrifice is an offering, right? So we want to get that. So among the burnt sacrifices now, and I say the sacrifice, not offering, because flour is burnt, so it's a burnt offering, but because it's not flesh, then it is not a sacrifice. Because sacrifice is that animal that is killed. All right, so look now at, so among the burnt offerings, which are the burnt sacrifices, are you call the sin offering. Leviticus 4 verse 3. All right. The priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people. Let him bring for his sin, which he had sinned, a young bullock without blemish unto Yahuwah for a sin offering or a sin sacrifice. And then we have another sacrifice called or offering called burnt sacrifice called the trespass offering. If a soul commits a trespass and sin through ignorance, and you will understand when you read through Leviticus chapter 4, 5, 6, that sin offering is given and trespass is given when you have committed unintentional sin. So it's not just you decide you go break the Sabbath and and then you can bring a lamb, a sin offering, or you can go and somebody go and sleep with somebody's wife, and then you can bring a sin offering. No, you are stoned to death. It's only when you read carefully, it's unintentional sins. So it happened that you have to realize it. It's when you realize it, now say, "Oh my gracious, this and what I've been reading, I have done this wrong." So you bring your sin offering. All the sin, well, not all other, but there are some sin like you tell a liar, you bring a trespass offering, or somebody give you something to keep for them, and you lose it, then you have to pay the principal plus 20%, and then you bring your trespass offering. But other things like breaking the Sabbath, you commit fornication, all those other sins, then you should be stoned to death. There's no offering to be offered based on the readings. So there's a trespass offering. If a soul commits a trespass, a sin through ignorance in the holy thing of Yahuwah, then he shall bring for his trespass unto Yahuwah a ram without blemish out of the flock, with his estimation of shekel of silver after the shekel of the sanctuary for a trespass offering. And then we have also a peace offering now, so the peace sacrifice. Leviticus 3 verse 1 to 3. And if his oblation or offering be a sacrifice of peace offering, if he offer it of the herd, whether be male or female of the herd, he shall offer it without blemish before Yahuwah, lays on the head of the offering, kill it at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Aaron's son sprinkle the blood upon the altar thereof, and he offered the sacrifice of the peace offering, and offered me by fire. The fat that covered the inward and all the fat upon it. So the fat part, the fats of the animal is burnt on the altar. And then you ever throw fat in the fire and smell it, or it smell good? That's a sweet smelling savor that goes up. That's Yahuwah. You have to smell. Right? The peace offering. And then we have now we call it free will offering. Some man have some whoop a cow and goat or sheep. And say, I give some to Yahuwah. I give 100, maybe a 10 cow to Yahuwah. I give 1 cow. And you bring the 1 cow. Free will. You just decide to give a free will thing. Based on how things stay with your flock. We don't know how things stay with your goat them. Hope a goat or multiplier go on and breed up and all them some of them. You decide, say, well, I'm going to give something to Yahuwah. And you bring it to the Yahuwah and to the priest. And the priest do him thing. And the priest just burn like a part of it. The fat part and all of burn it, and then the rest goes to the priest, Aaron and his sons, as free will offering. So we look at now list. So look at Numbers 28, 29, 34. So it give a list of these offerings. Huh? So it says, these things you shall do unto Yahuwah in your set feasts. So beside your vows and beside your free will offerings, for your burnt offerings, for your meat offerings, for your drink offerings, and for your peace offerings. So these are this is the list. This text give you this verse give you the list of offerings there are. Understand me? The list of offerings. Free will just give something. Burnt offering is any it's the animal that you have. The priest burn, so it's burnt. It's called burnt there. The meat offering is the flour. The flour or the corn, the first fruit. And then you have the drink offering is the wine. And the peace offering is anything you want to. Well, it did say if you bring it from the herd. All right? So that is weird. So that is, in a nutshell, sacrifice and offering. So sacrifice is the animal. All right? And when you give it to Yahuwah or take it for the altar, this is an offering, but it's called a sacrifice. All the other offering that are not flesh-based is just called offering, and then you have different type of offerings. Huh? So that is what that is in a nutshell. So let's look at now the law of sin offering. Now, so sin offering let's zero in on the sin offering now. And while you are looking at the sin offering, I want you to also consider. Bear in mind what the Passover is, or what are some of the things that what is the law or the ordinances of the Passover. Because it's a sin offering, you'll see it says the law of the sin offering, or the Torah, or the instruction that you give about sin offering. If the Passover, if what happens with the Passover is not in line with the law of the Torah of the sin offering, then you can easily write off Passover, write it off as a sin offering or a sin sacrifice. All right? Is that simple? Or is rocket science? All right, so that's not rocket science. That's very simple. If the law does not say, or if the law says X and X is not done, then this thing is not concerning the X there. As simple as that. So let's look at the text now. Look where the law is given now. So Leviticus 6, verse 25 to 30. And I put something in. You can't see the color. I colored it, but so you could have a better understanding of the law. But no worries. Speak unto Aaron and his son, saying, this is the law of the sin offering. 1. In the place where the burnt offering is killed, shall the sin offering be killed. So anywhere that you kill a burnt offering, at the same place the sin offering should be killed. And you'll find in Leviticus 1 verse 3, where let me just quickly jump to that and come back to this. 1 verse 3, if his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it where? Of his own will, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So this is where the burnt offering is offered, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yahuwah. Good. So this is where. So here we are told, based on the law of the sin offering must be killed, must be brought to the same place where the burnt offering is brought. Why? Why would it be the same place where the burnt offering is brought? Any? I don't want to take a shot as to why. Why the sin offering must be done in the same place where the burnt offering is done. Yeah? Because the sin offering is a burnt offering. Is a burnt offering? The sin offering is a burnt offering. So this is where you put the burnt offering. Right? So the sin offering is a burnt offering. So you have to put it where you keep the burnt offering. But remember now that there are different burnt offering. You have sin offering and burnt offering. You have fruit offering, which is the burnt offering. You have the trespass offering, which is the burnt offering. So all of those offerings must be burnt, must be done at the same place because they're all burnt offering. You follow? Not rocket science. Alright? So the one, it must be done at the place where the sin, where the burnt offering is done. That's one. That's the first law or instruction. The second instruction is verse 26. The priest that offer it for sin shall eat it. So the priest who offer the sin offering, shall eat the sin offering. In the holy place shall it be eaten in the court of the tabernacle of the congregation. That's number 2. So you might want to ask yourself, is the Passover killed at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation? Because the law said that the sin offering must be killed there. So the question is, and remember again what kind of offering is killed at the door? What kind of offering? The general burnt offering. Right? So all burnt offering must be killed at the door. So the question is now, you can ask, is the Passover, that lamb, a burnt offering? Do we see any part of the Passover being burnt on the altar? Do we see the priest take the flesh, the fat and whatever it is and burn it, a part of it on the altar? We don't see that. Right? We don't see that. But all burnt offering must be burnt on the altar. And the burnt offering and sin offering is a burnt offering. Trespass offering is a burnt offering. So all animal sacrifice or offering is burnt. So the question is, do we see the Passover, any part of the Passover being burnt? You answer that. And 2, is it at the door of the tabernacle of congregation? Is that where the Passover is killed? You need to find that out. Because we're looking at the law of the sin offering. Is what should be done with the sin offering, which is a burnt offering. So the priest should eat it, and it must be eaten in the court of the tabernacle of the congregation. So inside the court, the priest can't carry this sin offering go home. It has to be eaten within the holy place because it's the holy thing. So you ask yourself the question, does the priest eat the Passover in the holy place? And who else eat the Passover? Is it the only question is, because the law said the priest should eat it. So a common person cannot eat the sin offering. It's not for him. How many persons eat the Passover a year time? Everybody basically. And where do they eat the Passover? At the yard. So it is killed at the temple, but eat at your yard. Because only priest should eat, because it's the only thing. You can't eat holy thing outside of the temple, it seems. So the priest now will have to eat it alone, not your friend over there, not your Judah friend, not your what the other tribe name again? Not the Benjamin friend, Benjaminite friend, but the Levi. And not just Levi, but they from Aaron's tribe. So we're looking at the past, or we look at the sin offering based on the law. See there? This is the law of the sin offering. And we want to measure up it with the Passover, which is the lamb that was killed for Passover, or the lambs, and to see if Passover lamb is a burnt offering or a sin offering. Verse 27 now. We continue with the law. Whatsoever shall touch the flesh thereof shall be holy. And when there is sprinkled of the blood thereof upon any garment, thou shalt wash that thereon it was sprinkled, and in the holy place. So if the blood catch the garment of the priest, you have to wash your garment in the holy place, not at your yard, at the holy place. All right? 27. But the earthen vessel therein, wherein it is sodden, shall be broken. So if you cook it in a one clear pot, you have to break it up when you finish. And if it is sodden in a brazen pot, it shall be both scoured and rinsed in water. So what we're seeing here is that the sin offering, the priest is to stew the sin offering, and you can stew it either in a clay pot or you can stew it in a brazen pot, where you want to curry it or whatever it is. And if it's a clay pot, you break the clay pot. Or if it's a brazen pot, you wash it, you score it and run. Do we see this happening with the Passover? What happened with the Passover meat and flesh? It's roasted, not stewed, not sodden, not cooked, not boiled. It is roasted. So the pot that they put it in when to carry it home, do they break it, the clay pot? No, we don't see that. So we're looking at the Passover. Verse 29. All the males of the priest shall eat thereof. It is most holy. Who alone should eat of the sin offering? The priest only, the male, the priest. Nobody else. The Passover is eaten by everybody. At least we see up persons 20 and over. But call it everybody. Alright? Verse 30. And no sin offering, what is now? No sin offering, whereof any of the blood is brought into the tabernacle of the congregation to reconcile with all the holy place, shall be eaten. It shall be burned in fire. So the law says of sin offering, if a particular sin offering, if you are doing sin offering and the blood is taken into the holy place, the entire flesh have to be burned. A part is burned on the altar, and the rest go outside the camp and burn. Which sin offering do we see where the blood is taken into the holy place? Which sin offering and what occasion do we see the sin offering where the blood is taken inside the holy place? Huh? Atonement, right? So atonement, so the sin offering that is offered at atonement, that sin offering, because the blood is brought into the holy place, then that particular sin offering, that sacrifice, that animal cannot be eaten. But all other sin offering animal can be eaten because the blood is not taken into the holy place. So only once per year we see the blood is taken to the holy place when a sin offering is offered. Now this is school, this is university of Yisra'el. If you understand, make notes. Alright? So all sin offering, a part is burnt, the fat and those parts are burnt on the altar, and the priest take the rest of the nice flesh and them part there, and do your stewing, and you roast it. The stew, a curry goat, or you have your sheep, your brown stew sheep, or they call your beef. You call it beef, or your brown stew beef. So the priests, they do that. They don't roast it, they cook it, and they eat. But if the sin offering is the blood of the sin offering, or the blood of the sacrifice, sin sacrifice, is brought into the holy place, then you can't eat any of that particular flesh. And we see this happening at the at the Day of Atonement, not feast, the Day of Atonement, where one of the two goats is killed at the door of the congregation, and then the priest now take the blood and carry it in the holy place, and carry it even up into the most holy place. So once it is done that way, then you cannot eat. Then the priest have to burn part on the altar, and the rest goes out of the camp to burn at a place where they normally throw the ashes. All right? Good. So they shall be burnt in fire. All right. So based on that now, what would be your conclusion so far about the Passover? Would you say the Passover is a sin offering based on that? And you have the reasons, right? You wrote down your reasons. Because if you're asked to do a debate on whether the Passover is a sin offering, you have to draw these points. You have to go to the source where the law is given. The law is given, sit there. The law is given in Leviticus 6. As to how you treat with the sin offering. All right? And if you don't treat the Passover in the same way based on the law, then the Passover cannot be classified as one, a sin offering, or two, a burnt offering. It's a burnt offering. And all sin offering are what? Burnt offering. So that's what you have to now use to show that the Passover. In fact, if you look carefully, the Passover are just one big cooking something. Everybody eats it. It's a feast. It's a feast for everybody to eat and feel good. It's a bashment thing happening with the Passover. It's a big party that you do on a yearly basis. To do what? And Marsha showed last week. To commemorate Yisra'el removal from bondage, not sin. Because bondage and sin is two different things. And he showed us, and he reminded us last week, that Yisra'el went into Egypt not because of sin. They went in because it was sent to go fix itself up in Egypt. So we can, do the thing and whatever it is. But while in Egypt and doing well, the Pharaoh bring them into captivity or captivate them or bound them into bondage. And so they are coming out of bondage, not of sin, but bondage. Because, and as you will see, and we have shown already, the difference between bondage and sin. Egypt is not seen as sin. Egypt is always seen as bondage. What is seen as sin? Babylon. So while they are telling people about Egypt being sin, the real sin, they are mingling in it. Mingling into Babylon, or what Babylon done, all the teaching of Babylon. Babylon is confusion. Falsehood. Falsehood is sin. So all these false teaching about with Christianity and people going to heaven and Passover is sin sacrifice, a sin offering, and Passover represent Jesus. Of course, it's Jesus, and all these things. That is Babylon. That is sin, because sin is confusion. Sin is anything that is not correct. But Egypt is bondage. Egypt hold you down. When they were in Egypt, they were not prevented from doing worshiping the Yahweh. It's just after a while they were not told they had to work on the Sabbath, and they asked for the Sabbath. Moses asked for the Sabbath, and he said, "Well, I got to give you more work to do." Babylon is sin. Egypt is bondage. Yisra'el was in bondage. They came out with a mighty arm, an outstretched hand. And the Passover is to be eaten, big anniversary celebration party. To eat to commemorate your removal from bondage. Babylon now where Judah went was sin because you go to Babylon, you have to do what Babylon do. And only a few men decide say we're not going to do that. We're not done it. We're not going to eat your food. Everybody's going to eat food and eat all the pork and the shrimps and all these things. And we're not eating it. So kill us. And Yahweh kept them in Babylon. Babylon is sin. Let's move on. Soon finish. So Leviticus 4 is that verse is that text I want you to read on your own. I may not be able to go through it all because it tells us what should be done as a sin offering when the priest sin, or when the ruler sin, or when the whole Yisra'el sin, or when a normal, ordinary person sin. Unintentionally. Not just any sin, but unintentional sin. And so you can read through and you'll see what should be done as a sin offering. For example, let me look at the first one. Sorry. It's out of here, so it's kind of affecting me. So in Leviticus 4, verse 3 to 12, is the priest that is anointed do sin according to the sin of the people. Then let him bring for his sin, which he had sinned, a young bullock without blemish. So if the priest sin according to the sin of the people, he should bring a young bullock without blemish unto Yahuwah for a sin offering. He shall bring the bullock to where? Where should he bring the bullock? Where should the bullock be taken? To the door. The door, remember now, it's a sin offering and it's a burnt offering. So it must be taken to the door. So we see it here. To the door of the congregation. He shall lay his hand upon the head, kill the bullock before Yahuwah. The priest that is anointed shall take the bullock blood and bring it to the tabernacle of the congregation. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood, sprinkle the blood 7 times before Yahuwah, before the veil of the sanctuary. The priest shall put some blood upon the horns of the altar of sweet incense before Yahuwah, which is the tabernacle of the congregation. Shall pour all the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar for the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. He shall take off of it all the fat of the bullock for his sin offering, the fat that covers the inward, and all the fat that is upon the inward, and the 2 kidneys and the fat that is upon them, which is by the flanks, and the caul above the liver, with the kidney shall take it away, as it was taken off from the bullock of the peace offering. And the priest shall burn them upon the altar of burnt offering, and the skin of the bullock and all the flesh with his head and with his leg and his inward and his dung. Even the old bullock shall he carry forth without the camp unto a clean place where the ashes is poured out, and burn him on the wood with fire, where the ashes are poured out when it was burned. What do we get from this? Do we see any of the flesh of this bullock that was offered for the priest eaten by the priest? No. None of it is eaten by the priest. So what happened to the flesh? All the flesh is burnt outside. A part, the fat, the kidney, whatever it is, burned on the altar, The rest is burned outside the camp because it is sin of the priest. So when the priest send him offering, him can't eat him own the flesh of his sin offering. No, so we burn. And if you realize, it says that it takes the blood in the holy place. And the law says any sin offering where the blood is taken in the holy place, that sin offering should not be eaten. Right? Look at it, and look at the Passover and to see if there's anything with the Passover that compares to this, if there are any similarities. Right? We do not teach or practice what we think or what we believe is what is written. What is written is all in the Torah. This Passover is not a sin offering. It's not a burnt offering. So there's a priest. Let's look at 15 minutes. Let's look at what happened when the whole congregation sinned unintentionally. Now, look at that. So that was the priest. None of it is eaten. It's parts burned upon the altar, and the rest is burned outside the camp. And the blood is taken and sprinkled about the place. It was taken into the holy place, so you can't eat it because the holy place, that clean up thing, that the clean up of the holy place. What if the whole congregation now, the whole of Yisra'el sin unintentionally for one reason I don't know? Leviticus 4:13-21. If the whole congregation of Yisra'el sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahweh concerning things which should not be done, and you are guilty, verse 14, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin offering. Watch this also. How many animal is offered for sin offering here for the whole congregation? One. Passover, every house will get an animal. So, and a sin offering, that's because a sin offering is the one animal for sin offering. Passover is every house will give a lamb. This is not what we think, this is what is written. A word upon word, line upon line, here, little there, and here, there, put it together. It's not what people think, like other person who think and believe. So the whole congregation bring one young bullock for sin, and bring him the lamb, or eat the lamb before the tabernacle of the congregation, and the elders, all the elders of the assembly of Yisra'el shall lay their hands upon the head, because this is the sin of the entire Yisra'el. So all the elders, representatives of each tribe, will come press their hand, because that will have a sin. Right? Will have a sin. They put their hands upon the bullock before Yahweh, and the bullock shall be killed before Yahweh. The priest that is anointed shall bring the bullock blood to the tabernacle of the congregation. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before Yahweh, even before the veil. So this is gone now into the holy place now. He shall put some blood upon the horn of the altar, which is before Yahweh, that is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and pour the blood at the bottom of the altar, which is at the door of the tabernacle. And he shall take the fat of him and burn it, and shall do the bullock as he did with the sin offering, so shall he do with this. And the priest shall make atonement, and he shall be forgiven them. He shall carry forth the bullock without the camp again, because the blood was brought into the holy place. And you burn that outer door, outer camp, outer port, because the blood was brought into the holy place. That is the congregation. But what about the rulers now? If the rulers, verse 22 to 26, of Israel, if a ruler of Israel sin and done somewhat, who could be the ruler of Israel? Like who now? The ruler of Israel. Do you want? That can't priest. No, the priest, we always see what the priest always say, priest can't be included in the ruler there. What ruler? Huh? The king is the ruler. Or when Joshua was there, so the king, the ruler of Israel, done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yahweh his God. And the thing should that he done and is guilty, or if his sin wherein he had sinned come to his knowledge, they never realized him do it, and somebody brought it to his knowledge, Yahweh was saying, Mr. Man, and say, listen, you do this wrong. And he said, all right, I never knows it wrong. I did it. So I'm going to bring something. I'm going to give a sin offering. He shall bring his offering a kid of the goats, and male without blemish. He shall lay his hand, he, that is now, the ruler, lays on the head of the goat, because since your sin, you must put your hand upon it. For what? For the transfer of the sin to the animal. When the animal is killed, then the sin is forgiven. Sin gone. Lays on upon the head of the goat and kill it in the place where they kill the burnt offering. All sin offering is killed at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, because it is a burnt offering. And the priest shall take the blood of the sin offering with his finger, put it upon the horn of the altar of burnt offering. He shall pour out the blood at the bottom of the altar of burnt offering, and he shall burn all his fat upon the altar, and the fat of this, as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him according to his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. Again. And the final set of people now is called now a common people. So any common people is called it, but any normal people. So one law for the priest, one law for the when there's the whole assembly, whole of Yisra'el, then one for the ruler, but now this one is for the regular people, a one man or one woman. Verse 27 to 35. And if any one of the common people sin, and the common doesn't mean at least, just normal people, sin through ignorance while he does somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahweh concerning things which are not to be done, and be guilty. Or if he sin with which he had sinned to come to his knowledge, then he shall bring on his offering a kid of the goat, a female without blemish, for his sin and which he had sinned. 29. And he, the common man, shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. The priest now shall take the blood thereof with his finger and put it upon the horn of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour the blood at the bottom of the altar. He shall take away of all the fat thereof, and as the fat is taken away from off the peace offering, the priest shall burn the fat upon the altar for a sweet savor unto Yahweh. And the priest shall make an atonement, and he shall be forgiven him. And if he bring a lamb for sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish. Lays hand as usual on the head, kill the burnt offering. The priest take away the blood and of the sin offering with his finger and put it upon the horn, and then he pour the blood at the bottom of the altar there. Well explained. Shall take away the fat thereof, as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the peace offering, and the priest shall burn upon the altar according to the offering made by fire to Yahweh. And the priest shall make atonement for the sin offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And he take the result for himself. Right? So that's how it is. So now, so sin offering, so any sin offering where the blood goes into the holy place, or the most holy place, and What are the sin offering where the blood goes into the holy place, our most holy place, based on what we just read? Sin offering of the priest, sin offering of the ruler, and sin offering of the entire congregation. But that one man now him doing things separately. That one they not go in the thing there. Right? And the one for atonement. Because the atonement sin offering not only go in the holy place, but what also goes into the most holy place. So the blood goes all the way up into the most holy place. So that now sin offering is, and you can read that in Leviticus 16. Right? So we look at the piece of the sin offering, we look at the sacrifice. This sacrifice. Easy Passover as sin offering, based on all that you're saying. Easy, we have to get it. It is what it is. Let's look at the Passover now before we close. This is where we first saw the instruction given. Exodus 12, verse 7 to 11. Passover. They shall take the blood, strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door post. And by the way, there's a group of persons who do the Passover. Every year they still take the blood and strike on the door. They strike it, right? Because it is given as the instruction here. So you better do this, Better do this because you're instructed. Dan go eat bread and wine for Passover. So better you take the blood, of the lamb and Passover every year and strike it on the doorpost because it was given there. At least it was given there. But we will say this is what was done in Israel, in Egypt when they were going out. So we're not now in Egypt, Bridget. We're not in Egypt. Where are we now? We are in Babylon, not in Egypt. So we could argue say that we don't strike the blood on the doorpost because we are not in Egypt and coming out of Egypt. Right? But we're more like we're in Babylon. In sin, or in the earth, or if we call the entire world Egypt. If you call the whole world Egypt, so we're in a boundary now, then we might need to strike the blood. Because if we're Egypt, we're in Egypt, if we say that. But they will look at that. So you strike the doorposts and the lintel. You shall eat the flesh. So what is now? Watch this. The blood of the sin offering. What is now with the blood of the sin offering? What's now with the blood of the sin offering? It can't. It not leave the whole place. It not leave the tabernacle, the temple. So, right? It's either go in, or it's poured at the altar. But the blood here, but this is Egypt. The blood is struck on the doorpost of each house. So if the people of Israel, if Yisra'el continue doing that, it means that they will have the blood of the Passover would have been taken out of the table and gone about their business to strike on its own. If we say, well, they continue doing that, so that now would worse show that it's not a sin offering because can the blood out of the temple, or the blood is poured at the. I'm wondering of that temple smell with all them blood there that poured at the altar. But that's another thing to think about. Verse 8, they shall eat the flesh in that night, roasted with fire, and with unleavened bread, with bitter herb, they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw or sodden. Sodden means that you cannot stew it, you can brown stew it, you can curry it, you can fry it, and which offering is have to be eaten sodden or stew? The sin offering. The sin offering, that which blood did not go into the holy place, the priest have to eat it stewed, brown stew or whatever it is. They should know how to do it. But the Passover flesh has to be eaten roasted. You should not eat of it raw, nor sodden, at all with water. We cannot stew it down with water and the curry and the browning. But roasted with fire, its head, with its legs, and with the pertinence thereof. What's the pertinent? What's the pertinent? The belly and everything. But with the sin offering, those parts are taken off, and the kidney and the fat and all, those are taken off and burned at the altar. But with the Passover, everything that's off for roast. It's not burnt offering. It's not burnt. It's not a sin offering. Totally different law, different instruction when it comes to the Passover, the lamb. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remain of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it, with your loin girded, your shoes on your feet, etc. But this one is what happened in Egypt. Let's see what happened out of Egypt now, before we close up. We close it down. And the thing is, brethren, the thing is, which is important too, is that the flesh of the sin offering, if you read carefully, that the priests eat, they can't eat every whole at one time, one day. So it is kept. But I think when I read it, it said it shouldn't keep more than 3 days or so. It must pass 3 days. So the flesh of the sin offering can go up to 3 days. You keep it in your fridge. Or you can it. So it can keep long. In those days, they use salt to preserve it. But the Passover cannot be kept overnight. So if you kill the Passover by 3 o'clock, for argument's sake, which we know is about that time it was killed, by the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9 hours, they have to eat it. 9, well, over into the morning. When the sun rises, 9, maybe about 12 hours. It has to be eaten. If it's not eaten, then it has to be burnt. It has to be burnt. So it is not a sin offering, because sin offering can be kept up to 3 days by the priest, not by just anybody. So there are so many evidence. So there are so many information about the sin offering that we have, that when we compare it to the Passover, we realize that the Passover is not a sin offering. It has nothing to do with sin or being killed for the sin of Israel. Because we are told exactly what to do with a sin offering. For Israel itself, for a priest, for a ruler, and for a one man or one woman. It's all clearly outlined there. So Numbers 9. I'll give you about two other things. Numbers 9, I'm going to give first Esdras. And we see where we go from there. Numbers 9. 3 and 9 to 13. In the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the rites of it. You have to do it based on the ordinance or the instructions. And according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak to Yisra'el, saying, if any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Yahweh. So if you're unclean, or you're going on a journey, you're going to America during the Passover time, you have to keep it same way. But, what now, verse 11? The 14th day of the second month, you have to keep it. You try to come back to Jamaica from foreign. You come keep it on the 14th day of the second month. At eve you shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herb. They shall leave none of it until morning, nor break any of the bone of it. According to all the ordinances, you cannot break up the bone of the Passover. What happened with the bone of the sin offering? Chop him up. You cannot strew goat and strew for some of them with long leg in that pot. The pot can't hold a long leg. If you chop him up properly, that's sin offering. The Passover, you cannot break the bone. And that's why you have to roast it, because the pot not big enough if you drop the whole leg in it. Different something this. They shall leave none of it till morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinance of the Passover, they shall keep it. But the man that is clean and is not on a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, so all who think you know, have to come a Passover. You know, come because them have sacrificed lamb. You know, come. The man who is clean and is not on a journey, you're not going to foreigner. You're Kingston, you're there when I'm Otrius. And you forbear it to kill Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among the people, because he brought not the offering of Yahuwah in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin. So all who not come eat up the Passover, the roast meat. When we have Passover, you bear your sin. Should be cut off. We'll start some cutting off, you know, for this year. All right? Be another one now. Look at 1 Esdras 1:12. And they roasted the Passover with fire. They roast it. You don't roast sin offering. And it's not they. It's only the priest deal with the sin offering meat. As appertaineth. As for the sacrifices, they sod them in brass pot. So what we see here, let me quickly say this before and write this down. You always have a sin offering being offered alongside the killing of the Passover. You get that? So while you are killing the Passover, you have to also offer a sin offering, because you have to clean up yourself to eat the Passover. That's what happens. And you will understand also, because I forgot to show this in when the text earlier, that while they are doing this the Passover, and you'll see it, I don't know if it's in this, that while the Passover is killed and everybody gone home to eat it, the priests were to be burning the sin offering on the altar overnight. Not the Passover is not burned on the altar. While we are eating Passover in Yisra'el, the priests are burning the sin offering on the altar. And an whole night burn are going there. And while the priests are cooking meat at the same time, because they can't cook something at the same time. So they roast the Passover with fire, as pertaineth. As for the sacrifice, they sod them in brass pots and pan with a good savor. Curry up nicely, smell good. Throw in your all-purpose season, you throw in your scallion, you throw in your thing. Good savor. And they set them before all the people, and afterward, and they prepare, and they do them things. So they eat the Passover, and the priests them do them thing. Eat up and all them. So hear this now, before you close now. So this is a little chart I have now to look at the law of the sin offering and to tell me now, so this is sin offering and this is Passover. You now can decide with yes or no. So you bring the animal to the door of the congregation for sin offering, yes or no? Passover, yes or no? No, you not bring the because the Passover and the burnt offering, they can't bring it at the door. As somebody else, them kill it. So the first thing show say, Passover and the sin offering. Second thing now, priest lays hand on the head of the animal. And the priest, whoever sin, lay the hand on the head of the animal. Is that done with the sin offering? Yes. Is that done with the Passover? No, nobody places any hand upon no Passover lamb and confess any sin. Because it's not a sin offering. So two no gone already. For the Passover. Kill the animal. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? Yes. 2 noes, 1 yes. The blood is taken, take the blood to the tabernacle of congregation? Sin offering? Yes. Passover? No. 3 no, 1 yes. We'll find out if Passover is a sin offering. Next, dip finger in blood and sprinkle 7 times. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? No. Put some blood on the horn of the altar. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? Pour the remaining blood at the bottom of the altar. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? Part of the animal is burned on the altar. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? The other part are burned at the place outside the camp. Sin offering? Yes. Passover? If the blood was taken into the holy place, the priest get to the remain. If it's not taken in the holy place, the priest get the remaining portion of the animal. Sin offering. Passover. No, I'm not the priest piece of my Passover. You crazy? I mean, my family if wax it down. The priest is one there. Me can't give priest piece of my Passover. And the last part now. The other parts are burned outside the camp. Sin offering. The Passover. No. It roast. I'm a yard. And eat. I mean, I make sure that everything eat up before the morning. I mean, I not burn nothing. Eat everything. Right? So it's clear, brethren. So it's clear that the Passover is not a sin offering. The Passover does not represent Yeshua and his death for sin. It does not represent it. It does not represent it at all. And I said earlier that the burnt offering is also done alongside the Passover being killed. 2 different separate things happening there. And Marsha showed us last week. Said to the bullock that was given and all these things were given were for sin offering and other free will offering or whatever you want to call it, but it was not the Passover. The Passover is separate, and every man come with their Passover, with their lamb, with them animal, with their sheep or them goat, 1 year old, get it killed by the priest and carry out the yard with them things. Roast and the priest don't get none of my lamb at all. And my also think that. So read that for yourself. The Passover is roasted while the burnt offering is stewed. It is there. This one Esdras, and 2nd Chronicles. It's all there. The flesh of the sin sacrifice is eaten only by the priest, while the Passover is eaten by all of Israel. It's all there. The sin offering is killed at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. Nowhere are we told that among the ordinance of the Passover that we are told the Passover will be killed at the door, because it's only burnt offering are killed at the door, because that is weird. The burnt offering, the Passover is not a burnt offering. The people are in error, serious error that as we were in before. If you want to equate any offering with the death of Yahusha, you have to use which one? You have to go to atonement. You have to go to atonement and look and use at least one of the lamb, one of the 2 goats. But both goats would have represent, if you want to say it represents, it has to be both goat. Because Satan, Mastema, the devil, the liar, has no part in the removal of sin. Right? We have to understand that. We have to understand that, and that is how it is. Right? So don't matter what they want to say, we have enough evidence to show that the Passover has nothing to do with sin. It has to do with redemption. It has to do with freedom. It has to do with release from bondage. If you want to talk about sin, and there's no way, look at it before I close. If Passover is sin, then why do we have atonement again? Why do we have sin dealt with at Passover and atonement? No. No. Sin is dealt with at atonement. And if Paul, as I propose, if Paul tells you that the Passover is a sin, you need to dash your Paul and work with what is written in the Word. Because the word of Yahuwah is what is found in the Old Testament. So if you say Paul tell you say the Passover is for sin, then you need to put away Paul and work with Yahuwah. Paul or Yahuwah? Who do you go with? I go with Yahuwah. I thank you.
Thank you. That's our Rush. So I hope that all of us got something very important from this message, and we will keep it in strive and keep on, and look forward for our Passover. It's coming up. We ask our dear brother Morgan to come and give us the closing prayer.
Father Yahweh, we thank you for the days preceding, dear Father. We thank you for each and everything that was said and done here today, dear Father. We thank you for your words that was given unto us through your messenger, dear Father. Words of wisdom, words of knowledge, words of life, dear Father. Words that will keep us on the straight and narrow path, dear Father. And words that will keep us on the ancient path, dear Father. We thank you for speaking your word to us through your laws, dear Father. Father, may you continue to keep us on this path, dear Father. And may you continue to show us your wisdom and your truth always. We thank you for the messenger that give us this word, dear Father. May you continue to bless him. May you continue to inspire him and give him your word, dear Father. And may you continue to keep him as come to your way. Father, as we are about to go for a break, dear Father, and for the lunch that is provided, dear Father, may you bless it, dear Father, and bless those who provide it, dear Father, and continue to keep them, dear Father, so that they do not grow weary, and continue to allow them to do that great work that they are doing, dear Father. Continue to speak to us, dear Father. I can't help continue to ask, dear Father. Show us your wisdom, show us your way. Give us your knowledge, dear Father, and let us understand your truth, dear Father, and nothing but the truth, dear Father. As we say thanks to your Son, dear Yeshua, I pray. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We call back our Atsalyahu to give us the dismissal and, if any, announcement. We thank you.
All right, thank you again. Oh, so brethren, just to say this, as it came to me a while ago, you see, when I talk about the in Egypt where the person put the blood on the doorpost and all that, because they were in bondage, and so if Yisra'el is not in bondage, because we're not in our land, they're in bondage, so maybe that's something we should look at because there are right. So we're looking for the second Exodus to leave bondage to go into the land. So something the group that use the blood on the doorpost, may not be wrong. May not be wrong, but something to look at, because we have to look at things based on the word, right? So we can think about that. We can talk about that one of these days, because indeed we are in bondage. We're not really not in Babylon, but we're really in bondage. We're not in our land. So once you're not in your land, you're in bondage, right? And we are held by our captives. But somebody will say, well, Babylon and not the, but something for us to discuss. All right, so we go into Passover. That's next Sabbath, right? Next Sabbath is Passover. Huh? So we kill the Passover next Sabbath, and we go into in the evening, the night must be observed, and the first day, of the feast of the bread. Um, what we should have Friday is the wash foot and the bread and wine. Something to look at also later, if that really ought to be done based on the what is given in the law, in the given in the Torah, because we don't see that done on a yearly basis at that time. We know that Yahusha would have eaten the bread and the wine with the disciples, because that would have been the last meal he had with them before he died at the time of the Passover. And Paul said, as often as you eat bread and wine, you do it unto. So you can eat bread and wine at any time, or maybe at the covenant. But I think to look at also, because we're not going to just accept everything or anything. We look at everything and we come back to see what is what. We have to do it this way. We have to get the eating part properly in order for us to be Yahuwah's people. All right. So we look forward to that. We'll discuss with the other leaders what we do for Friday if we'll have the bread and wine. We'll discuss and let you know before then. But remember now, so we'll be staying over for the week, and all the plans are in place. We did post the activities for the week in the group. You can go back and see what is what. All right. So we look forward to this grand feast of unleavened bread. Stand where you are as we dismiss. Yahuwah blesses you and keeps you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. You are dismissed.